Morning, Dadisi. Hey there.
Good morning.
How is everyone doing this morning
Good. Too
Or
much rain.
or evening?
Good. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, Zoom's doing something weird today. I don't know. It's like, no, you're not signed in, but then won't let me sign in. So, all right.
All right. Well, welcome back after the little hiatus here for our summer vacays and stuff. Ready to get started again with this group.
Andrea is joining, I think.
Looks like
Logged in with wrong profile, I guess.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hello, Andrea. Good to see you.
Hello.
All right. Well, just the four of us for now. I guess let's go ahead and get started. Just DC and I just async over chat for a little bit, started putting together this a good agenda for us today. And really what we did is go back to previous meetings and put together all of the thoughts that we had come up with in the past as far as new ideas moving forward, some of the action items that were still outstanding. And I'd like to spend today mostly in review over all of those. But some of these things I want to get into a little bit more detail so that we can promote this to other folks and get more people involved in some of the specific topics. So first of all, I'll share the notes we can all see. All right, so we did have some open items. We have our mission statement that we talked about before, maybe perhaps revising it or adding to it. I don't know if any work has been done on that. Anyone have anything to share or any
yeah,
updates?
I actually did both of the items in the list, but I'm having an issue still with legal. The good news, like last week I talked to Fatih and I talked about ways to get around this. But Monday I got approved to go to the last person in my chain. So I'm gonna, do it the way that I'm supposed to. And so if I don't have it by next meeting, then we're gonna need to figure out another plan. Or what actually might even help too is like Michelle, you and I can talk like out of band, because there might be some ways to kind of do this within the structure of how I'm supposed to guide it. But they are done, at least my drafts are done, and I can't like do anything with them until this last hurdle is crossed.
Okay. Sounds good. And white paper as well. That was
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've written like 4 things that I just, they're like, no, you can't give this to anybody yet. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That will be exciting to get those two up and open and shareable so we can all start to contribute to those.
Just may I add something here? I'm sure that is you captured these things in the message statement, roadmap, white paper. I think I mentioned this to you during earlier meetings, like whatever you see on GitHub on Interoperability SIG README, as you know, it comes from very early days, and on those days, we didn't even, have a common understanding within group what interoperability means. So please don't think you are limited to what is written there. It needs refreshments, like refreshed, and also, to modernize, improve based on the topics after this item. Just that was very blanket statement on the interop repo.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't have the roadmap, but what I did with the white paper, and this is what I think I've talked to everyone here about this, is I just changed the lens to make it, instead of trying to talk to everybody, it's just talking to like one group at a time. And so there's the executives, the SREs, and the devs. And the things that it's asking about are focused in those areas, just so that it lines up that way. And so that's the 3 views for the white paper. And then the mission statements are like, there's just I think I have 6 that are like, oh, like these could work for what we want to do. Which ones do we want to go with? So one thing I found about working with Michelle, she has really good context for like what the other side of the thing looks like. And so I figured if I just give ideas, we can kind of talk through it and make something out of it. I didn't do a roadmap though. That's the one thing that I haven't done, is a roadmap. So that's something that we'll need to kind of figure out. I know that we had talked about some goals that we had set. And I think, yeah, but as far as like trying to hold on to context and things like that, I just built off of what you'd already done. There's a lot to the concept of like the Rosetta Stone. I think that is a beautiful way to say what we're trying to accomplish. That crosses language barriers and the understanding of, oh, yeah, we're just trying to make the system communicate. But then what does that give us? And that's the same hints that are in our operability relaunch topic discussion, are like, the what I think of it like, it's the anatomy of a platform is the reference architecture or platform engineering, visualization, metrics, and the DSL are still the pieces in it, but it's just like who gets the benefit out of this, right? Because if you're an executive, you have a different view of what metrics means, right? Or the DSL doesn't really mean that much to you because everything works. So why would you care? But for a dev who's trying to do something, the DSL is super important. And so it's just changing the lens. That's all. Does that make sense, guys?
It does. I think one of the hopes is to, get something out there that we can all collaborate on. And then, agree what we want to have in our roadmap for the future. So that the second section in our notes we had, I just collected these from previous meetings, interoperability relaunch topic discussions. These were ideas that have been thrown out there. We didn't get into really nitty-gritty details on any of these. I think we need to decide where we want to focus, what we might want to prioritize, what topic might be more important to tackle right away as opposed to later. Maybe all of these belong in our roadmap in some way, shape, or form. But that's something that I'd like to do a little more of today, is get into details like where the interoperability SIG can help with these topics. First of all, do we like these topics? Are these things we want to dive into as a group and get more people involved in? And just have these 4 with the combo on the one there for reference architecture, platform engineering. And are we missing anything?
Not to be hogging the mic, but I do think these are super important. I think even the order makes sense. we first have to kind of define, okay, what is CI/CD in a very visual way that links together some of the components, and then have that in multiple kind of, okay, this is small, medium, and large, because for different organizations, that's going to look differently. From that, we can have a conversation about how you visualize it, or how, you know, eventing, using events can help you visualize the whole thing. But being able to do that as a group and say, hey, you know, and it's not going to be perfect. And I think that's the other thing too, is like, we are saying like, these are, you know, what it looks like at a small startup, and, you know, at a medium-sized company or at an enterprise level, to kind of just create some imagery for like, these are the challenges that you face. I think that would help a lot to explain overall what we're trying to visualize and why each step is needed to be visualized. But not only that, it'll help us say, okay, we are making sure that the events let you visualize everything. And then that might help in both things. I think, I don't know, I think they're good.
Yeah, just to add, I think it will be same thing as you said, that you see, maybe my wording will be different because of lack of vocabulary. So the thing is, like before I joined the Linux Foundation, I spent lots of time talking with people and trying to make sure that we can look into continuous topic in a bit holistic manner. It's not just about Jenkins, Tecton, it's not just about artifact repositories, it's just not about visualization, test frameworks, and so on. And interoperability is a key thing to actually enable this on both machine level and when we talk to each other. And that's why, as Ladis said, like the order makes a lot of sense to me, because like, and this is related to reference architecture discussion we had a few weeks ago, like if you can put something out there, like many are doing that, like platform engineering initiatives or app delivery under CNCF or some other initiatives, we need to do something similar, perhaps from our perspective, because we are dealing with CD stuff, and we can obviously incorporate some other things like supply chain aspects into it. But if you can get something out there, again, just to repeat what that is said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be complete. It may need to be wrong in a way, so we get people urged to speak up and take part in conversations. Because if we try to go with like complete thing or beautiful thing, then people may think, oh, these people are already doing what they are, already know what they are doing, and it's difficult to influence that work that already happened. So we need to keep it balanced. Like we can't just go with the empty blank page, or we can't go with like 55 boxes with lots of arrows and lots of word and so on. It's like just to keep the balance. And then the other items underneath, like visualization, metrics, pipeline, these are different types of things, perhaps with different target audience. Like visualization for developers, perhaps their individual commit might be more important for them, but for executives, maybe organizational performance, how good they are doing, where they are spending money for, or if a product they spend time, money, and resources, if is it really bringing any revenue? So it's like, again, we need to have different ways of presenting same information, like how that is mentioned in white paper or in roadmap or mission statement. Perhaps we target technical people, developers with different types of things, with more, fun things, and for, high level, a bit more abstracted and actually showing why this thing matters and so on. And that brings me another topic, which is not perhaps directly under interoperability or discussed within interoperability, but value stream management is something, Andrea, you have been discussing with Steve Pereira from Value Stream Management Institute. So that could be a side topic which we can keep in touch with Event SIG to see what's happening there, and perhaps incorporate some of those discussions into our thinking. So yeah, that is it. Like, just repeated what you said. Sorry.
No, that was better. That was well said. Yeah, I think I hadn't even thought of risk management. I think that's a great call out.
I don't think I can add much, but I also agree in starting with reference architecture, as there are initiatives happening also on the OpenSSF side. I think the tool belt initiative there. They're defining actors, use cases, personas, use cases, and things for the security point of view. And I think it would be great to have like a counterpart from like more CD focused, so we could have synergies between the two. And I think also, like you said, that the reference architecture would probably give us the language then to target what we do in terms of visualization metrics to the right audiences and organization types and so forth. So I think that's great. So just to understand for me, in terms of visualization, I think is the idea to kind of identify what exists out there that we could use, or define what kind of visualization makes sense, or start a software project, or just trying to.
So what I'm imagining, what I'd love to see us is a, education resource, because a lot of teams, when they start on a project, especially if you've got, people just starting out, they don't know what they don't know. So I would love to be a source of information for these folks when they, address visualization. They'll get some ideas on what they could possibly use, what is needed in the industry, what people often write on their own. I imagine many teams are re-implementing the same thing over and over. That's a theory of mine, but that's somewhere where we could help, right? To come up and find out what the commonalities are between different types of projects and see where we can go from that. Similar with metrics and pipeline DSL. I mean, just having, a place where someone can go and look and discover maybe things that they hadn't thought about, or learn the value of certain types of metrics or visualizations that they didn't think of.
Yeah, I think that it's just to add to that, because I think that's exactly it. It is really like, how do we take the things that we're already doing in the CDF and help people understand how to do a thing with it, right? Or, because there are, even at my company, there are several groups building the exact same thing, and I am 200% aware of it, and it's really weird. But then they each kind of approach it a little bit differently, and like, our needs are this, our needs are that, and there's these huge gaps because they don't know to know. And I think that's really where we can help a lot. And it isn't, it's really in service to all of the other things we do. Like, interoperability is like, okay, we have all these cool things we're doing, but like, how do we ensure that they're working together and that people are getting benefit out of it? Are we maximizing it? Are we finding all of the questions to bring back to the other SIGs and say, hey, we did the reference architecture, we see this, like, how are we filling these gaps? I think that'll help us be of service to everyone. And that's the real goal. Like, how do we just extend what we do and make sure that people understand it and can do things with it?
So I guess
yeah, sorry.
Okay. Biggest question I have here is, how do we get started? What's step one for this? I mean, we spent some time, one meeting, getting some of the graphics and stuff together for a reference architecture. I don't think we've done anything with it since then. I think now we just need to get brave enough to put something out there to start getting comments on. I'd love also, and this follows into later in the agenda, we'll get to it again, but we also need something to start with in order to engage more people. Because right now, I know things in the industry are tough. Lots of demands are on all of our time. I think if we have something started, it will be a little bit more attractive for people to get more engaged and share their opinions, join the meetings. And because we definitely need different perspectives.
I think like this promotion aspects or outreach aspects, again, it depends on our ambition level, but the work that you see start doing around like white paper and goals and mission statement and so on, if you can go out with something concrete rather than saying, oh, we are restarting the SIG,
right?
But like, because we would be giving people something to take physically, like PDF, like for example white paper, they can look at it, or they can attach themselves, or they can relate themselves to the problem statement and what we are trying to, and then we can perhaps, like, we don't have to push everything at once. We push this first, saying we are restarting. This is what we achieved over the past 2-3 years, and now we are taking a fresh look. What's based on what's happened in the industry, as well as what we learned from new contributors and others. And then the next month could be based on the conversations, reference language, diagram, whatever. You know, if we can, like kids, you know, if we can make this a habit, if we can get people looking at what we are up to, then they may stick around long, rather than having one communication per 6 months. So if we can line these ideas up with concrete things, depending on the audience, then it would have higher chance to have new contributors joining. And an additional thing, what we start doing is end user council. And we will have a survey we will publish in a few weeks. Interoperability is one of the items listed there as a question, like as part of a question, like, what are your organization concerns? Interoperability is one of them. So we can also use that medium to know, oh, we found this from our end users. Interoperability is highlighted as one of the top 3 concerns. Then we can bring those people as well, because some of those organizations we are having discussions with end user council, they won't be part of these conversations at all, from different industries like automotive and so on. So we have different ways, and the foundation could help with those things. Roxanne could help with those things. We can get fancy things developed and so on. So we just need to, you know, prioritize these things based on how much we can commit to the items listed in the document.
Yeah.
Obviously, we need to do the work as well. It's not just about, you know, promoting, but like having CD events, success of CD events, and having the ongoing conversations with velocity management could be concrete outcomes of this effort. It's not just on HackMD or in Git repo, but we are actually impacting things. So people can see, or if we spend time on this thing, then we will be able to get some return of our investment, both time and what else.
Yeah, I think the regular communication is huge. Getting it in front of people, like you said, in a regular manner, showing what we're actually producing and doing is important.
Yeah, I think we also should do, as we're doing these communications, there should be some sort of call to action as we, you know, this is a lot of times when you see people communicating about their projects, they are telling you, hey, we're doing all these cool stuff with the projects, but they're not saying like, this is the question we're trying to answer and we need your opinion, right? And so if we do take the first step of doing like the reference architecture, and as we're thinking through the visualization, you know, and the questions that we're asking and who we're trying to solve those for, if we even were doing like LinkedIn post that says like, you know, this is the work we're doing, blah, 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 like, here's what we're looking at. And how would you solve this problem? Like, let's come and talk about it. Like, come and talk about it. This is where we're having that conversation for the community. Like, we're solving this problem for like all of these types of companies. And, you know, what do you think? And these aren't, of course, the specific questions, but that's the other side of trying to present like the white paper from people's viewpoints. I was thinking like, oh, there's going to be a lot of questions, but we aren't saying, hey, we're the forum to discuss it. It's more like, hey, these are our findings, but we really want to engage people and say things like, your thoughts matter. Come talk to us about it, to try to engage some people who are outside of the organization, you know, the CDF and the open source community. So, and I think that's one of the things that people don't understand about open source is it's not just, you know, we don't just need the programmers, we need other people who bring different problems to the table for us to think about as we're doing these types of things. But what I think would be useful, I at least it was super useful for me, the way that Michelle, like we worked on this, you know,
Melissa.
I'm sorry,
That's
Melissa,
okay.
I am so sorry.
I tell you, Michelle is my other name.
No, yeah, no, and the worst part is I'm literally looking at it on the screen, and then that came out, so I apologize. So the way that Melissa and I work, like the jam session kind of idea, like even if we're talking over chat and like working on a document, I love that interaction. It's super useful for me because, you know, I'm constantly going, is this good enough? Is this right? And that kind of helps with that kind of complex as you're trying to do something. But I do think that the order that we have it in is the way that we should, you know, if there's things that exist for the reference architecture, I would love to see those, and maybe we can turn it into something. I've seen I've seen a bunch of other ways to do this. I've seen people do like the whole platform and talk about, oh, this is the anatomy of a platform and like how it all gets put together. I think that's a great way to do it too. And then go back to this smaller group and say, hey, this is what we think it should look like. But then for different, you know, size organizations, because they're each going to have a different kind of need. That is one of the things that really attracted me to CD events, is that it was thoughtful in the approach that it worked for very small companies could make this very useful because it would go system to system, and then very large companies could do the event bus kind of methodology. And where is that cutoff point, right? And that's a great thought exercise for me, and how do you make that effective as someone who builds tools for CD. So
is this something we want to tackle today?
if
With
you,
4 of us, get something started and share it
down.
for group?
I know Fatih has to leave soon for another meeting. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's right. That's right.
But don't mind me, please. If like I can tag along afterwards offline. Don't care about me, please.
Okay. One thing before you leave, Svati, I'm glad you reminded me, Dadisi. We had a topic for the supply chain topic discussion. Just a little aside here really quick. We had talked about in the TOC, perhaps bringing this back in to this group, the supply chain SIG, temporarily, or to see if we get more engagement in that area and then possibly spin it out again. What I did not do was email that mailing list or share with those participants. Do we want to do that for the next meeting?
I think it would be better if that email goes out or sent by David Banduri and Leora, one of them as the co-chairs of the SIG. Because
Okay.
that was my question as well, because we have the meetings are still on the CDF public public calendar. So if they agree to this, we can put a note on SIG software supply chain channel and on GitHub repo pointing people to SIG Interop. Until further notice, the conversations will happen in SIG Interop. But it's better if the comms go out from David and Leora.
Perfect.
But
okay.
yeah, and it's not a strange thing actually. Just to be honest, if you were in that meeting or not, when we first proposed the software supply chain SIG to TOC, there were concerns around this, like splitting the efforts to a different SIG. But at that point in time, the interest to SIG was high. So it is not a weird thing to bring the discussion back to SIG interoperability. So if someone comes and says why, we can point to historical discussions, how it started and so on.
Okay, perfect. All right, I will reach out to them and ask what their thoughts are. I think they'll be pretty keen on doing that.
just one point, I know that I have talked to Fatih about this, and I think Melissa, you and I have talked about it, that one of the things about the interoperability SIG that I would like or hope that we are very thoughtful about doing is, like, we're trying to like start ideas and not necessarily keep them. And so if something does slow down, it's a great place to say, okay, let's reinvigorate it to get it back to be its own SIG again. It's like, I like that concept that we're really focused on is what are the next things that need to be done, and then getting a group of people together to do it, and then letting them go and do it. I don't know, I just think that's useful.
Great. Okay, so we did talk a little bit about promotion, increasing engagement. I captured some of the ideas that you had, Fatih, before you leave. your idea of, the regular communication, having surveys. Was there anything I missed that you brought up before?
Oh, I
Off.
think I think this captures like regular communication in different ways is the thing that would be helpful to get people, interested and bring the people who are part of this. But yeah, I'm also like just ping me if I have an action item or if you want to talk about something, I will be around. And
Okay.
I need to leave now. This is really exciting. Thanks a lot for starting this conversation, and I will do my best to contribute whatever way I can.
Of course. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye.
All right. On that note, I think we have wonderful ideas, and a lot of them. There's only 3 of us right now on this call. So what I would propose to do is come up with a little bit of a marketing plan with maybe 1 item for each of us. Whether that just be a social post. I'd love to work on a blog, but maybe that needs to be with someone else, just given my time constraints over the next couple of weeks at least. Let's see, if we can actually get some things accomplished, because we have a lot of good ideas here. Are there any, and I know I'm kind of moving forward a little bit, I kind of want to get this off of our plate and then maybe go back to our reference architecture discussion. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So Fatih at one point talked about new marketing material. There's always opportunities for blogs, obviously on our personal space or on the CDF blog as well. Once a blog is there, any of us or any other members can enhance it, share it with their groups, of course. I believe that's a really, really good way to get, I guess, possible engagement, or at least what we're doing in front of people that are already part of the mailing list. We have a pretty large mailing list already, pretty large membership in the Slack channel. So I really do think it's just a matter of making our stuff visible. And I'm guilty of doing this. Like Dadisi, it was great working with you yesterday, but we kind of did that on the side. And I'm looking back and I'm thinking we probably could have done that just in the public chat Slack channel to share what we're doing, and we might have gotten more engagement even then, just even creating this agenda and our ideas for topics. So in the future, I do this all the time for work, so I'm likely to do this for the foundation too. So if we catch each other doing that, let's remind ourselves to make it public, get it out there in the Slack channel so it doesn't appear that it's silent. Because it's not. We have a lot of ideas cooking here. Do either of you, Andrea or Dadisi, do you have any upcoming speaking events or anything that you can think of that we might be able to, put in a reference to what we're doing in this SIG or anything like that? I know I'm coming from the person whose job it is to do that, so I don't know what you have on your plates already, or if there's any opportunities for you.
The next thing for me is the mini summits and our summit in Bilbao. So the CDF mini summit.
Where was this at? The CDF summit? Oh, in
CDF
Spain.
In Spain, in Bilbao. Yeah, in Spain.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I will not be in Spain, unfortunately, but any posts or anything that you want me to get out there, I will definitely do that. We do need some, like, a marketing plan. I may reach out to Lori, since she does a lot of marketing stuff for CDF, to see what ideas she has. Maybe she can keep us looped in on things that are happening already that maybe we can piggyback onto. One idea.
I mean, if we have a white paper, it could be waiting time, there's always the possibility to print it and bring it there to the conference and distribute it to people, like the recent events. But I don't know if that's feasible from a time point of view.
Right. Yeah, waiting on the white paper. Did you see all of my fingers
Yeah.
and toes are crossed, hoping we can get
It is going to still need some iteration. I'm not, I
Right.
don't think that I am like nailed it. But I do feel very confident about it. So I don't know. Yeah. So again, like we were stuck. I mean, my project has been literally stuck with the same guy since May 8th, who just approved it, like I said, Monday. And yeah, we're now to the portion where we get sponsorship, because it's not legal's no longer my hurdle, it's the executive sponsorship that I'm trying to get. And so this should hopefully be rubber stamped by this next person, since his lower level folks were super diligent. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna call that. I'm not gonna share my smile.
I think we very familiar with how all that works. It's yes, it can be challenging at times. Okay, so keep in touch with us. Let us know what the status is on that. If there's any possibility of noting it or advertising the first iteration or inviting people to comment before the next meeting, that would be awesome. If not, that's how things go. But yeah, just keep us in.
Do you have any time to work on the reference architecture or start it, or
okay, let's go back to that. Andrea, you were here on the last meeting where we brought it up, right? Where we had the digital assets, the little graphics and stuff.
Sorry, connection broke for a second for me.
That's okay. Do you still have access or know where the digital assets are for the like the graphics that we were starting with for the reference architecture?
So I assume you're in this one here. So today we have some assets published on the best practices website. Is that what you?
I think so. Would you mind sharing your screen so we can see where? I'll stop sharing here.
I can try.
There was like a graphics program you were using, and I apologize. So many weeks have passed since we brought it up last. I'm not remembering very well.
Oh, the program to draw diagrams.
Right. Right.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood that. So that's what I'm using. It's called draw.io or diagrams.net.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, trying to remember, I think last time we started at some kind of shared document. Yeah, trying to remember where was that. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm not really.
I'm starting to recall what we did.
Yes.
So that's how you make these. I wondered how you made these.
Yeah, I think we checked last time that it was possible to share this. I think now that it was on the website, but I don't remember where it was that the file was. I need to find out.
Did you have to share to our individual email addresses, or did you make it public?
I share to people, I think.
Okay.
Oh yeah, okay. That's the one. So it's shared with a bunch of people.
I just found it. Okay. So there's a lot in here I wouldn't want to mess with, of course.
Oh, don't worry. There is anything. It's probably just a copy of something that I use. So I think you can, yeah, you can play with it. You can add a
Okay.
new tab. Reference. Right. So do you want me to keep sharing?
I think,
I think
do we
we know
wanna-
we're
yeah, I think we know. I mean, the next step, what is just tackle putting on some rectangles in there. Just getting it started. So,
Actually, maybe one last thing. So we do have this initial work that was done on architecture.
mhm,
But yeah, so there's like a list of different personas. Then there is some text about drivers and constraints. But what I thought was interesting here is the capabilities section. So right now, there's a lot of text, but I was wondering if it would make sense for us to try and identify like functional capabilities that we think would go into the architecture. And so that then all those functional capabilities would be basically a box that you can put in a diagram. And maybe initially it's just a stack diagram, and then we can evolve it and create more like connections and describe a bit more the interaction between the different boxes.
okay.
And also just some
I
an
think that's a
idea
good
of
idea.
how we could proceed.
I like it. That's
I
a
do
good
too.
starting place. Let's do
And
that.
yeah,
Maybe a couple of us can get together, start working on it, and maybe just posting screenshots of our ideas in our Slack channel. And then we might get some more input. Start with sharing what we're doing, of course. I like it.
um, So for the list of capabilities, would it make sense? I mean, there are other efforts ongoing, like on the OpenSSL side, the platform one, the VSMI one. So what I could try and do is like copy a list of names, different capabilities that are captured in those, and put them in our ACMD or in a new ACMD dedicated to that. And maybe we could review them and see which one we think makes sense for our architecture and which one we're missing. And maybe we can flesh them out a bit, each of them, and say what we think, what role it serves.
Okay. I didn't capture that very well. The other efforts that you mentioned.
So the one that I'm aware of, there is OpenSSF one, there is the VSMI work, and also the it's called Canary one.
I think that's what this. Yes, that's the guys. I couldn't even remember their name. Canoe. Yeah, Canoe.
Yeah. So if you want, I could try and give it a go and start like copy pasting things from these, what exists or what I find in a document.
Okay.
And maybe we can then review them and try to put them into a diagram as to get like a first starting point.
Okay.
Yeah. So the only thing for me personally, as you may know, Melissa will be on PTO starting on the 11th, and I'll be back on the 3rd of September. But I can try to, start gathering some material and putting some ideas in a document before I leave. And then you can review and discuss them in the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
anything that's started, it's like I can get away with adding to very easily. That's well within the scope of what I'm allowed to do. So that would be super useful for me to like add onto something that someone else has already started. Like,
Awesome.
That's good.
All right. Any other action items we want to get out of this and do before next meeting?
I think, is that, did you say any other?
Any other?
Okay, that's, thank
Do
you.
we have enough for
Yeah, I think we have I think
just
if
a
we
few
can
of us
just get,
to bite
yeah,
out?
can get this started, that would be huge. And like I said, we are working on the other issue internally. And then if someone else starts it, then it's, from a legal perspective, I can like participate in that way. But it's the things that I'm authoring that they are kind of stickly about.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Well, I don't have anything else meeting worthy, I suppose. I think we can continue this discussion async in the Slack channel.
Okay.
Maybe we can do I'll do a quick summary of this meeting, put it in the Slack channel just so people are aware what we're getting started with. And then I guess we'll look for next steps for whatever you come up with, Andrea. Let us know how we can help. And, I'm excited for this. we're going somewhere.
Nice. Thanks for relaunching this. That's
Yes,
great.
we have a lot to do for our communities, so I'm looking forward to it. All right, well, I guess I'll give you all 10 minutes back. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll
Alright.
see you next time and certainly talk to you before that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hey, bye-bye.
Ciao, folks. Hey, it didn't do the thing.